This commenter says, my dog is excitement reactive and he knows there's a dog down the road that he wants to go see on every walk, pulling in that direction and whining. But that the dog is also terrified of this dog and runs away if she's actually there. And they're asking what the best way to approach this is, whether it's to avoid that direction entirely and to teach her not to care about other dogs, or to let her watch from a distance. So first, let's talk about the emotional piece, and then let's talk about the stress levels, and then that will give us our answer. So sometimes it can seem like a dog is excited because they are moving toward the trigger. Or we might have other reasons for believing that the dog is excited, because like maybe, for example, they get along well with other dogs and like to play with other dogs off leash. But this commenter has also clocked that their dog moves away if the dog is actually there, and that they seem terrified at that time. And so a couple of things could be happening here. We could have a dog who's experiencing conflicting emotions. Maybe they are super interested in getting more information about that dog, but then are completely unprepared if the dog is actually there to engage in any sort of social way, even from a distance. And then they try to move out of there. They want to flight. Another possibility is that the dog is scared the whole time, but is pulling closer because they feel like they have to move closer to get more information. But then when the dog is actually there, their survival plan changes, and they say, oh, context is different, let's get out of here. In any case, moving away of something that we're scared of is a great coping skill. That's fantastic. And dogs who can flight don't need to fight. So if the question is, do we avoid the situation or do we let the dog watch from a distance? That answer has to do with stress levels. And it's sort of the difference between our management and our behavior modification. And good behavior therapy is going to have solid management. And when we're doing our behavior modification, we're going to be doing it within the thinking brain. So I want to make sure that my dog isn't strengthening those negative associations. I want to make sure that they are not trigger stacking up. I want to make sure that they are not engaging in unsafe or unwanted behaviors. And I want to make sure that within that trigger stacking, sort of a subcategory of that, I want to make sure they're not experiencing toxic levels of stress, a survival response when there isn't actually something that they need to survive. If my dog is in their thinking brain, that can be an opportunity to create positive associations, to let them be curious, to let them be pro-social, to let them gather information, to let them engage in self-regulatory skills, and to practice the skills of moving forward in a good thinking brain and socially, or moving away when they're uncomfortable. And as I do that, there are different things that I might be doing within that time and space to support my dog learning these skills or building these associations. And that's the behavior modification piece. So if I am actually on my walk, it might be okay to let my dog watch. And I could do a pattern game, or I could do some engage, disengage, or I could treat it more like a bat setup, or I might mix these things all together, or I might just be doing a scatter feed while my dog watches. And if they're in that green zone brain, that can be a very positive experience. If my dog starts to experience negative emotions about the dog, or they start to climb up that stress scale, then I would ideally, before that starts to happen, begin to move my dog away.